Yo, we are live in San Bernardino at the Streets Don't Love You 2 tour. Just finished rocking, and I got a special guest, the homie Reconcile. Don't you go anywhere. Yo, what's going on? It's Ruslan with KingsDreamENT.com. This channel exists to encourage you, empower you to live God's dream for your life. And man, I'm in San Bernardino. It's actually my first solo show in San Bernardino. I've done quite a few shows in the IE, but never in San Bernardino. And it was a dope night. We had my man 1K Few shut it down. We had my man Hurt shut it down. And we had the headliner all the way from Florida, South Florida to be exact, ladies and gentlemen, one time for Reconcile. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good, boy. You already know what it is.
You gotta get a little closer to the mic, man.
Yeah.
There we go. Yo, so the backstory with you. I've known you for a couple years.
Yeah.
Ever since way back when I believe one of the first times we met. South by Southwest. You at the time were working with Thizzle.
Yup.
And I just remember y'all going on after Cray them and shutting it down.
He was like, yo, cuz, I want you to hit the stage for me after. It's going to be lit.
Yeah, it was live.
It was lit, bro.
It was live. And I remember thinking like, yo, who is this dude? And it was like, you know, people chatting, yo, Reconcile. Yeah. And then I started hearing about like the amazing work that you were doing in the community.
Yeah,
you know
always.
And you talked about some of that in the show tonight. You talked about preaching the gospel at prisons and jails and youth detention centers. Give the people like a brief backstory on who you are and how you got to where you're at now.
So man, I grew up in South Florida. A lot of people don't know a lot about South Florida other than when they vacation. Mm-hmm. South Florida is it's a lot of poverty. It's a lot of ignorance. It's a lot of violence at times, and you know, it's a lot of people just trying to make it and survive in a place where, you know, the living wage doesn't really match how much you earn. And I grew up in a trailer park. I was born in a trailer park. My family did their best to try to come together with some money, but man, like my mom was 16 years old when she had me. Okay. She you know, had 2 kids by that time. You know what I'm saying? My dad, he grew up in the trailer park. You know what I'm saying? And my dad told me at an early age, like, if I'm ever gonna do anything with my life, it would have to do with a football scholarship. I remember literally one time.
Your dad told you that?
Yeah, one time, because me and my dad, we fought a lot. My mom left when I was young. Me and my dad, we fought a lot, mostly because of my disobedience and him living vicariously through me and wanting to see me do better than what my cousins and everybody around me was doing, because all my peers were getting locked up, making horrible decisions. All the men in my neighborhood were incarcerated, and all the men in my family were incarcerated.
But your mom and your dad were married together?
They were together at one point, and it just didn't work, man. I think my mom, she never felt like she had a life, and I think she saw an opportunity to breathe, and she was willing to do that at that cost. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But your father's in your life at this point.
Yeah, you know, me and my dad, we had a falling out. But my dad, he's changed, bro. And shout out to God, because he's a totally different person now. I'm proud of him. Yeah. I love him. You know what I'm saying? I think what God has done in him is amazing. He's an amazing human being right now. Yeah.
So here you are growing up in poverty. Mom and dad both in the picture, making it work. And your dad tells you the only way you're gonna get out is through a football scholarship.
Man, literally, like we would have a.
What did you think of that? Like when he said that to you?
I feel like that was I feel like he was trying to give me the best information he had.
Wow.
Cause you know it's a lot. It's like my dad. He never saw over the hill. You know what I'm saying? All he knew was maybe at the top of the hill, if you get this football scholarship, you can have a better existence than what I could give you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And literally, me and him, we had fallout, fist fight. You know what I'm saying? I got kicked out like I was in in between 9th, 10th grade, started living with my grandma. My grandma would always try to tell me go back to the house, you know what I'm saying? But we just had a very toxic relationship. And I remember one time I was at his house and he was teared up. He was teared up and he was like, I want you to come look at something. And he said, come look at the table, and he had bills on the table. And one of the things was like a bank receipt to show how much money he had in the bank, no money in the bank. And then he showed all these bills, and he was teared up. He was like, I can't afford like living. And he's like, that's why I'm so hard on you. I don't want this for you. You know what I'm saying? That you don't have anything. You know what I'm saying? And my dad lost that house that we were talking in, my dad lost that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he lost a lot. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's why he went so hard on me. He just wanted something better for me. And I was literally like, in my immatureness, I was throwing a lot of that away, all my potential and talent and opportunities, you know, to be something different than what everything else was in my community. You feel me?
I think it's crazy because there's people that are probably fans of your music, fans of my music, that don't know that there are people in America growing up the way you grew up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I felt like I feel like we had it good compared to other people in my family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No lights when it get dark. You know what I mean? Just crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think that the disconnect from people who consume what we do in terms of CHH, and they consume music from someone like you, someone like, you know, a Reconcile, a Thizzle, a lot of us grew up poor. You know what I'm saying? My dad wasn't in the picture. My mom was on welfare. We were immigrants, didn't know the language. And so a lot of us grew up poor. But then the consumer tends to be disconnected from anybody that grew up like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, it's I don't think it's a negative thing, because I think a lot of times any movement, like, I always look at what I'm doing as like, man, I wish I could spark people. One, I want to educate and teach and inspire people that don't have, like, where I'm from. But I feel like it's also important to educate people who do, to care. Yeah. Otherwise, if they're not even aware, then how could they care? You know what I'm saying? But
you feel like you're becoming more effective in that?
Sometimes I don't know. If I'm honest with you, sometimes I don't know. But you know what? I feel like when you just speak honestly and you try to communicate authentically, I think people catch glimpses of it. There's people that have come to me, like, I made songs about the police friction. I made songs about domestic violence. I made songs about poverty. I made songs about racism. I made songs about brokenness inside. And, you know, people from all walks of life gravitate toward and feel some connection point, even if they don't fully understand it. You know, maybe they have compassion for it.
Yeah. Did you end up pursuing, you know, because you played college ball,
I did.
Talk about that. Like, how was that experience, and how far did you get in terms of?
Yeah, bro. Man, I received quite a bit of scholarships. You know what I'm saying, to play college ball at various places. From a lot of cats don't even notice. Like, I had the grades. You know what I'm saying. My school wasn't the brightest, so it was easy for me to get the grades. I did a program called Novanet in high school where it allowed me to stay after school and like pretty much make up classes, full classes. In high school, I would literally stay after school, make up classes, go lift, go hit the field. Then we would go all the way to the Boys and Girls Club, and we would play football until we couldn't see the football because it got dark. You know what I'm saying? We thought that made your hands better if you could catch in the dark. Running in sand pits, chasing chickens, like, that was us. That's Florida, South Florida football, Fort Myers, 239 Miami, all that. Yeah. So I had opportunities to play ball, and I was good at it, man. And I ended up choosing to play, you know, my college career at Rice University, which it's in downtown Houston, Texas, like in the medical center, right next to the University of Houston and Texas Southern University. And I played as a freshman. I played as a freshman. I got some playing time. My sophomore year I had some really bright moments, and then going into my junior year, I got injured, and which is crazy, you know. I remember when I first got injured, like I said, my dad lived very vicariously. And when I told him the news that they were telling me I couldn't, like, I did the CAT scans, I did the thing where you had to sit in the machine and you got to rotate to the right and you sit in and they just kind of studying your brain. I had the thing where you had to put the electrodes on your head to just like monitor, you know, all the hits that I was taking and giving. And, you know, the team doctor pretty much told me, like, we got to pull the plug. Like, I can't allow you to keep throwing your head into 300-pound guards. And I remember my dad was like, he was furious.
Really?
Like, how can they do this to you? You know what I'm saying? Da 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 da. And I, you know, pretty much the head coach at the time, David Bailiff, he told me, he's like, look, you know, I've seen this situation before. You can try to go get your own opinion, but your own opinion is gonna be on your dime. And where I come from, I can't afford all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of it. It was abruptly, and my identity to that point was in ball. Like in our community, that is the quintessential way of making it out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what my family was banking on. And it was over like that. But I think it was beautiful because I feel like God had way much more than me than football that he wanted to do through me and in me, you know? Yeah.
Right. That's dope, man. So how was it pivoting from being an athlete to being an artist? Was that, because I feel like I grew up playing ball, you know what I'm saying? And I like had the delusion that I was going to be a professional basketball player, you know what I'm saying? Like I really believe that, but then like no one told me that there's never been an Armenian professional basketball player in the NBA. Like no one told me that. Someone just told me that, you know what I'm saying? But I ended up getting caught from my JV basketball team. And that's when I went full-time, not full-time, that's when I really started pursuing music. But what it was interesting to me was that I was able to channel the work ethic from being an athlete and the like forcing yourself to suffer, forcing yourself to train when you don't feel like training. I was able to channel that into music, and I feel like there's correlations there. So would you say for you, once you made the decision to go over to music, that there was it was easier almost?
It's one lesson that I carry from football with me for the rest of my life. When you play football, anybody who plays any sport, especially a contact sport like football, what everybody playing doesn't realize is there's an invisible number over your head. That's how many snaps you got left. You don't know that number.
What position did you play?
I play outside linebacker.
And there's definitely a number over your head.
It's an invisible number over your head, and
unless you're like a kicker or something.
Yeah, hey, you know he got an invisible number over his head too. You know, you miss a couple more kicks, and that was your last kick. You didn't know that was your last kick. That was it. You know, and so you know, I didn't know how many plays I had but that number was going down. You know what I mean? There was plays I took off. You know what I mean? I remember we were playing Texas and on national TV my freshman year. I took a hit. I got my helmet knocked off on national TV against Texas. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know how that hit might affect me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't took a lot of hits, but what I realized is once it's gone, and all you can think about is, you know, did I do the most with the opportunity that I had? You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's something that translates over to life for everything. You know what I'm saying? You think about, you don't know how many times you're going to see your spouse again. You don't know how many opportunities that you have to say something transformative to your kids. You don't know how many times you have to pick up the mic. You don't know how many days you have to live your life, though, you know. But there's a number. It's an invisible number on your head, and just take advantage of all those opportunities and those moments to make the most so there's no regret.
Man, you answered that question in such a different way than I thought you would answer that question. Because you got real, I mean, that's real heavy and philosophical. Like what being an athlete taught you wasn't necessarily like work ethic and grind and focus. I'm sure it taught you all that, but that it gave you a self-awareness that
all those too, yeah.
Your time is limited. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's very interesting. Let me ask you this. After all the stuff that came out with the movie, you know, the Will Smith movie that came out on CTE.
You know, I ain't even watched it, bro.
But yo, all my homies that are in the league won't watch that.
I ain't even watched it.
They will not watch it. They will not watch it. And you know, I'm in San Diego, so I grew up going to church with Junior Seau, who's going to the same church.
Oh my goodness.
He took his own life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
I felt that.
Yeah, I ran an after-school program with some of his nieces and nephews that were like second cousins or something, whatever. Anyway, so I remember when that happened, and how impactful that was to the local community of
Yeah.
North County, Oceanside specifically, and it was heavy, man. And so we saw it up close and personal, you know what I'm saying? But I was more so curious that in terms of folks that maybe get their football career cut short,
Yeah.
and don't go on to play 20 years, 15. I mean, he was in the league for like 15, 20 years, you know what I'm saying? And now the stuff they're coming in, I'm always curious if people like that end up being grateful that they didn't play longer.
You know what? I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he did feel grateful. You know what I'm saying? And you never know, man. You one hit away from something.
Yeah.
I still want my kids to play football.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because from the things they can learn from it.
I'm not letting Levi play football.
I feel you, but I feel like you have to play the sport smart. I know this is a football conversation. I watch, my daughter, she plays Little League. She cheerleads, and I just be at the field like Liberty City Warriors. She was in that Stars documentary that they did for the Liberty City Warriors in Miami. But I just go out there, and sometimes you watch the coaches, and they're not teaching kids the proper way to hit. Everything is, you go up there, you hit them, stop being a punk.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, you don't teach kids the contact, helmet to helmet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's a way to play football safer. And I think some of the things that they implementing in college and NFL that people don't like because they're like, oh, you taking the aggressive out the sport. Not actually trying to keep the sport alive and keep people safe. You know what I'm saying?
Tell me what you got new coming with the music, because I know there's a lot of things in the pipeline. Obviously, you're doing the Streets Don't Love You tour. What's popping with the music? Tell me what's going on.
Well, you know what, man? I had an opportunity to be in a partnership with Empire. Empire is a distribution company, marketing company, label. I have some great relationships over there. Shout out to Desiree, Nima, Ghazi, everybody over there, hustling and working hard. Have a great relationship with Doc Watson. That brother really believes in me. You know what I'm saying? And so we've had opportunities to really push what we're trying to do to the crowd that we've always tried to push it to. One thing you talk about, the disconnect we talked about earlier, is you make music that is essentially, catered towards a audience that you have in mind when you're writing it, but that might not be the audience that consumes it. And so it feels like, people don't really catch the full effect of what you're trying to say because they can't relate.
Right.
So the goal is always like, okay, well, how do we put the music in those spaces? You know what I'm saying? So people can get the full intention of what we were trying to do and be able to appreciate it. Because those people, like, it's not that they wouldn't like it, it's they're not exposed. They haven't heard it. They don't know it exists. So it's continuing to try to find those spaces, and that's continued our goal. We don't got it all figured out, but the goal is like each time we figure out a little bit more of how to do things the right way to impact and affect people and all that. Like I was listening to something the other day. It's like it's not only what you say and what you're trying to communicate, but it's also how it sounds. All of that plays a role. Studying music, studying the market, studying how to market. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Well, they making us wrap up.
Hey.
But I'm gonna get out to Miami, man, because I want to have a longer, deeper conversation.
I'm gonna put you to
with
work in the day, boy.
Yeah. I've been trying to get out there with my man Ray Rock, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Ray Rock, go hard, bro.
I think your story is unique, bro, and I think what you offer to our community and music as a whole is dope, bro. And you're one of the brothers that I feel like really walk it and talk it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Hey, man, keep watching this man podcast. He dropping nuggets. Y'all boys missing this, man. I wish I had like a line I could say, like, wake yo. It's the Ruslan Show, baby.
Appreciate you, man. Y'all make sure y'all follow my man Reconcile on all platforms. Get them streaming numbers up. Support him, man.
Keep being real, Ruslan. I love it.
Appreciate you, bro.